subject for Mr. Cooney. He's taught for years, but he was just talking about going to Saratoga. That's all I got. Okay. Yeah. Lincoln wanted a victory because he wanted to do what? Yeah. What would become the Emancipation Proclamation. Yeah. And at the Peninsular Campaign, who moved really slow? So naturally, McClellan will be back at the command here. So McClellan had a golden opportunity to win the war right there because the war was still about what? Union. And that means that everything could be different. It's one of the great what-ifs in history. So let's get to Antietam. Did we mention South Mountain yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah.
What are the other great what-ifs?
Well, there's a lot of them. We'll get to some more. Like the British not stopping Washington from escaping Long Island. About New York, we'd have a totally different course of history. So, we got to South Mountain. Did we get to this map?
Yeah.
So we pretty much know what happens?
Yeah.
Here's the thing about battles. Some might be very interesting, some aren't. It a lot depends on how we tell it, who you are. But this is one of these battles where just a few things differently on the battlefield, and everything would be different. I'll tell you one thing, we'd have a President McClellan. At South Mountain, he delayed. Let Lee start to get his army together. On the 16th of September, McClellan did not attack. If he would attack that day, Lee only had about 20,000 men. Yet on the day of the battle, Lee only had 30,000, and 10,000 were still at Harpers Ferry. Harpers Ferry was right about here on this map, or luckily right here. And almost like we planned this. And they were marching all day. And it's about a 20-mile march, and it was hot. It was an awful march. I mean, stragglers collapsed, could not march any further, and they just went, no breaks, going. And so, in that morning, here is Lee's line in a semicircle. And I think you can see why this is so dangerous. There's the Potomac. He can't retreat. If he's beat, his army is destroyed. So this is a big deal. Okay, woods, a big cornfield. Woods, really rough terrain here. Then we have this creek, and then there's a bridge, and kind of rough terrain here. Did we talk about McClellan's plan at all? Yeah, it's actually a really good idea.
Attack one side.
Yeah. Attack, get him to shift, and attack here. Yeah.
And keep 30,000 troops.
Well, he thought he was outnumbered. Like he did in every battle.
Still doesn't.
So he had an entire corps sitting on a hill watching. Hmm? Yeah. Well, there was corn, but so General Hooker's corps fighting Joe Hooker. They attacked right here through the cornfield in the forest here. If you go there, you can see why it'd be really confusing in these woods. It's pretty thick, and then there's this broad field. The Park Service still grows corn there. To kind of give you an idea. Now think about corn in September. How high would that be?
6 foot.
You're right here. They're walking through lines of corn. And so they attacked, and the Confederates could kind of see it coming. But they opened up with, what is that, with cannon? Canister. And they fired into the cornfield. Just, I mean, literally cutting down men and corn, like you had a scythe cutting it down, just in rows. And they just kept attacking and attacking. They pushed all the way to in front of a church of pacifists called the Dunker Church. Isn't that ironic? Some of the hardest fighting in American history. But reinforcements under Stonewall Jackson pushed them back. Union Army pushed them back, pushed them back. In fact, the commanding general for the Union forces there, General Hooker, was severely wounded. His best division commander, George Meade, was wounded. General Mansfield, not a name you need to know, but it's just an interesting story. He, 62 years old, he had never led units in battle, but was begging to do it. And they gave him command of a corps. And so he led. So he had this long, flowing gray hair, and he rode a horse. He was going to charge in front. And he wrote, basically, follow me, and he took off. And what happened? He was mortally wounded right there. And his men got lost, and some got lost in the woods here. They could hear the firing, but they couldn't find it. I know that sounds ridiculous because it's only about 200 yards away, but you go there, yeah, it's really thick. And the other ones kind of crossed in front here. It was just a disaster. They nearly broke through. Nearly. But McClellan made the plan and then sat up here at Pry House and never went back to The plans never quite worked the way you think. He never got involved after the morning of the battle. He just sat back and watched. If he would have been paying attention and used that 30,000 men to attack here or right here, right at that moment, instead, the fighting died down here so Lee could shift forces to the next spot. Thousands died because of this. And after this battle, all you had to say to a Civil War veteran or a Civil War veteran would say, I was at the cornfield. Everybody knew what that meant. A cornfield. Every stalk of corn was cut down to the ground. And men were lying in heaps in the thousands, both Union and Confederate. Matthew Brady ran a photography studio in Philadelphia. He heard about this battle. And in fact, a day and a half afterwards, he sent his photographers riding overland as quickly as possible to Antietam. And they got there and took these pictures, and pictures like this had never been seen before. This is a road. Now it's a road you have to go to the battlefield. And the cornfields on both sides with its fences too. Those were Union forces died. He took a photo where they died. And you can see it, they're bloated in the hot autumn sun. And there's dead horses and dead everything in it. The smells of a battlefield would be indescribable. No one had seen anything like this. There have been some couple pictures near battlefields, but never showing bodies. In fact, the only thing they'd see are like paintings of glorious victors, and riding their horses and things like that. And the battles were much worse. Here's another one. That's Dunker Church, and those are Confederate dead. This created a sensation. I'll show you one more of his pictures in a sec. And thousands came to see this, his photography exhibition. This made Matthew Brady's name. And so him and other photographers all over heard, after seeing this success, what did they do after each battle? And they would begin to pose the bodies. They'd move and drag them to get a more dramatic picture. I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get to Gettysburg. But
You really are trying to go around one track. You really are trying.
I'm glad these are black and white. In a way. Of course,
They'd probably be all bad.
well, and everything else. But you think about it, if you had never seen anything like this, it was shocking. That's why they try to censor the combat today. They don't want people to know the realities of war. The realities of war, by definition, is anti-war. Because it makes people think, why would you ever do this? So, what happened here is, there's supposed to be another attack here and here. This one never happened. Sumner's corps was supposed to attack here. They got lost and attacked here. Well, it's kind of a low, kind of a drop down. There's cornfields and then a road. But because of erosion, the road kind of eroded down to form a trench, like a sunken road. And it's there that the Confederates formed another battle line for the second part. We have the cornfield, fighting died down there, and then picked up at the sunken road. But so many men died there, it's now Bloody Lane. And this is what it looked like right after the battle. This is what I took in March. Or no, this is the one I took in, I've been here 3 times. That was in July, about 4 years ago. That's the one I went down. It's this gradual cornfield come down here, and then now it's about 5 feet deep, but back then it was about 8 feet deep because of the erosion. What a great trench line, right? You just come in, they're just protected. And I walked, so you walk past the monument, you go in here, and it was a really hot day. And I walked and stepped into this trench. And I've never seen it like this in my life. Just walked in and boom, and I was covered with bugs, like little gnats. I mean, I would say, estimation, maybe 2 billion. But not just every place. It's like, God, it was awful. Went out, gone. And I'm like, I got to see this house again. So I went back, covered again. That was weird.
Reptoid.
But you can take a picture. Actually, like West Point comes, they have classes over the battle tactics here. So they come here. And that's actually made by the military academy, but now you can go up in this tower, and that's right with this. And Union forces came down this little hill, and in their nice lines, and opened fire. It got to about 40 yards, opened fire, and then the Confederates shot a volley, which means they all fired together, and just in rows fell down. And Sumner, the Corps commander, just kept pushing closer and closer, but they could not break through until one division or one brigade did. A brigade made up of small units called regiments, and these regiments were made up of Irish immigrants from all into New York. They came here after the potato famine, and also the 1848 attempted revolution in Ireland to break away from Britain. And that's flag of one of the Irish regiments from the Irish Brigade, they called them. And they broke through. They broke through the line and began pouring this way. All they needed was reinforcements. It didn't happen. Let's push it back. The end of the day, remember Brady's photos? Want to see what's called Bloody Lane? Oh, wow. Filled with bodies. And look at the corn behind them. You see the corn just cut down? That's a pretty amazing shot. The commander of the Irish Brigade, he was actually an Irish freedom fighter. This guy invented the Irish flag. He was arrested by the British. He was sent to prison in Tasmania. He escaped, got to New York. His name was Thomas Francis Marr. You know that name? And Marr, okay, after Fredericksburg, he couldn't do it anymore, the fighting. But he's such an important political general that Lincoln would make him the territorial governor, the second one of a brand new territory called Montana. He would die mysteriously in a steamboat. We don't know if he was pushed or shot. But it's a Civil War hero. And you know what I'm talking about? We memorialize him in the state of Montana. Did you Helena's capital, Montana?
Yeah.
His statue is in front of the capital.
Oh, wait, that's
Thomas Francis Marr. Cool. In fact, I was just showing, when I was there in March and just showing Mr. Sims my picture of Marr. This is the memorial of him there. Now, I'll show you the picture. It's a good picture. I'm a great photographer. I got skills. That's the one I took it. It's right there at Bloody Lane. Took a few more, but it's a good one. Let's put up at the city of New York. So I was in Dublin. I don't know when. I can't remember exactly. Maybe 5 years ago, the capital of Ireland. And I was there. I took the 1916 Easter Rebellion tour. Ireland tried to rebel against the British, and had a historian do the walking tour. It was a fantastic tour. I mean, I like that kind of stuff, anyways. But he knew his stuff. He was really entertaining. It was fun. And we walked maybe 5 miles. So we're walking around with him, and he goes to me. We were just talking about stuff, and he said, "Now, where are you from again?" And I said, "I'm from Montana." And he just, "Montana, Thomas Francis Marr," and he was so excited because he loved Marr because he's an Irish, and it was really cool. I was like, yeah, that made me feel good. All right, so that was really cool. Dublin's a cool place. Okay, but the thing is, no reinforcements came, and so the third part of the battle. Now, this one actually got going on time, but the problem was this. Ambrose Burnside had a corps of almost 20,000 men. He had to cross the river here. He got focused on this narrow, brand new bridge that was about 8 feet wide. So how many men could you get across at once? Maybe 4 abreast with their weapons. So just a couple hundred men from Alabama on the hills overlooking it kept it from taking the bridge. If he would have crossed down here, especially down here a quarter mile, Burnside's men could have crossed the Antietam Creek without getting their knees wet. But instead, they kept going over this for hour after hour. But it almost still worked. Finally, a concerted rush, and they would get over the bridge. Now, here's the bridge. Thus, my bridge. I had to buy it when I was in the gift shop at Antietam. I got to buy that. And I put it together myself. Pretty cool, huh? Carpentry skills. And you can kind of see here, it goes up this hill. It's actually pretty sharp over it. And so they finally broke through, and they're in the clearing. They advanced up the rise of this hill, and there's no Confederates left. They've been shifted so far over, and so many men who went down. Another chance. If McClellan would have been paying attention and stuck in his reserves, who knows? By the way, has anyone ever seen a stereoscope? It's one of those where you look through basically binoculars, like two little lenses, and that's two pictures here, but you look through the lenses, it makes it look almost 3D. That is one from 1863, one of the size of Burnside's bridge. I know it's kind of a cheesy watercolor of it, but that'd be pretty cool to see. So you look through it and it kind of gives a kind of vague 3D look. They got over the bridge. Those men from Harpers Ferry arrived at that moment and stopped Burnside's exhausted men and saved the day. Stopped them. If they would have stuck in the reinforcements there, they could have ended the war right there and saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Instead, what happens? One thing I should add, one of the brigades there had a bunch of regiments from Ohio, including the 35th Ohio Regiment, which my great-great-great-grandfather was in. And so when we were there, we had to go find the memorial for that. So his regiment. In fact, you want to see the memorial?
Yes.
Why is this here? That's weird. Why is Skype running? I don't even have Skype. That's really weird.
That's the government.
Everybody's out to get me. I'm not paranoid. I just know facts. Here is the regiment. Here it is, the 35th Ohio Regiment. And it's right over, see that those trees behind it? That's where the creek is. I knew it was close, but I didn't realize how close it was. He was also at Gettysburg. He survived. Pretty amazing. Why isn't this working? Here's me in front of it. See? Pretty cool. That's me.
You're not wearing shoes?
No, I have shoes on. Here's an action shot. Where did the music come from? I love that song. All right, so now here's the deal. By the end of the day, at the end of the battle, nobody could believe what had just happened. The bodies were heaped in piles. This would be the bloodiest day in American history, still is. The bloodiest day. Over 26,000 casualties. 3,000 died. Yeah.
Are there pictures, grading pictures of the Burnside Bridge battle? Or?
Just a couple pictures. That one of the breaks was a great picture. That's it. He wasn't there, but there was hardly anything there. No. And still the bloodiest day. Still the bloodiest day in American history. 9/11. Under 3. Which is a lot, but not quite as many. When it first happened, people were like, oh, is this going to be more than Antietam? And think about it, this is pre-high explosives. There's no machine guns. There's no planes. So this was slaughtered. The cemetery there is huge. In fact, at the cemetery, it's pretty amazing. They have it divided up by states. But they're just basically these little blocks. They have the name of them, but some they didn't know. And just a little block, and it says, all it says is unknown soldier or known but to God. One after the other, after the other, after the other. They kind of guess what state they're in, but that was it. Think about canister. What did that leave? Nothing. Think about what modern war is going to do with that. So, with that, both sides the next day just stared at each other. They couldn't comprehend what just happened. How many people died in one day? It's impossible to wrap their mind around. And on that night, Lee escaped. He got away. Lee escaped. McClellan stayed on the battlefield for a month. He never followed. Stayed there for a month. But he held the battlefield. And that was enough of a victory to do this. Burnside's Bridge. The Emancipation Proclamation. So the Emancipation Proclamation said all slaves in areas controlled by whom? By the rebellion. It said the rebellion, meaning the South. All areas controlled by slaves will be free on January 1st, 1863. In areas controlled by the rebellion. And they're going to give them a couple months to say you can still quit and keep your slaves. But wait a second. Is the South also going to turn around and give up their slaves? It didn't free anybody on January 1st. The United States had to win the war to liberate those people. But the Emancipation Proclamation changed everything. And this is Lincoln writing with all great documents in history, from the Declaration of Independence to Cicero's writings from the Roman Republic. But it did these three things. Number one, what made it such an incredible document. Once they issued it, slavery's dead. It's dead. You can't say we're going to fight to get rid of slaves and then turn around after the battle and after all this sacrifice say, kidding, you're still going to have slaves. I was just talking. Slavery's gone. Even though it did not free any slaves, and it certainly did not free any slaves in any of the states like Maryland or Kentucky. Lincoln didn't have that authority. He only had the war-making authority in areas under rebellion. Two, it gave the United States a great cause that would give 1/10 of the army would come because of this. What? The United States Army, 1/10 of it would be black soldiers. Most of them were people who were slaves when the war began. The United States won because of that. Those men fighting to show that they too deserve the right of citizenship. And number three, who can no longer enter the war once it became a fight for freedom? Britain won every end. No way. Before, when it's about union, Britain might enter. But after it became about freedom, done. Yeah.
Or if they did do it.
Yeah, actually, more likely then, because the working people of Britain hated the idea of slavery for lots of reasons, and government couldn't have done it. So you're right. This, by the way, shows the Confederate view of this being held by Beelzebub. And this is where we're talking about foot on the Bible, stomping on what's right. This is the Confederate point of view. I should add this. McClellan refused to move. And finally, Lincoln did something in the middle of the night, sent the order to fire McClellan. He did it in the middle of the night because he's still worried the army might just march on D.C. Now, McClellan was not that type of person. McClellan went home. Why couldn't he do that way? And who's going to be the new commander? Here's the point. He didn't, Meade, not yet. He didn't know who to pick, but, you know, he did take the bridge. Ambrose Burnside. Even though this was kind of a bad move. Now, Burnside, I'm going to leave you with this note. He was the most eligible bachelor in America. People would either swoon or be jealous of him. And I'm going to show you this picture. And I want you to control yourself, okay? This picture would be on the walls of people all over the North. Are you ready? Just control yourself. Soon, men all over would try to copy him and grow their own set of Burnsides. Where did sideburns come from? Burnsides. Oh, dress up day. I said there could be one person you could dress up as. Might there be somebody else? So you shave your head, glue it to your face. I've had students who've done that. Heck, one of them works here.
Wait, what?
Who?
Mr. Rayon. He shaved his head. Oh, you're running out before you get limbo, you punks.
Yes.
I was making it.
Well, how do you, like,
I was just making it all up. It was all made up.
Besides,
Every-
you work. No, because they
Limbo
were
is fine.
lucky, like, how can you?
Oh, I
do
know,
that?
I know. It's just- See, I was just totally, completely making stuff up.
I'm so disappointed. I'm
Yeah.
so, you never brought these out for us. It's last year. No, he brought out the bricks, but not the soldiers. There's a package of soldiers.
I don't know what the heck I was trying to do right here, but I think I was just talking about more here. Well, more about the region of the play, like what cost it, where it came from. Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, say it isn't so. Where are you going? Yeah, we're just gonna, I put the stuff up there, so you have that. I'm gonna get through the Emancipation Proclamation, and hopefully I'm gonna start that video. Okay,
Thanks.
there'll be no additional homework.
Are you lecturing?
Yeah, and, yeah.
Will you
Here, you know
record
what
it?
you should do with this? Stick it in the door. Here, like this. I'll show you.